Welcome to Sadaaqa. This show celebrates the long and historical friendship between India and Kuwait. Indians and Kuwaitis share a very unique relationship. It's a relationship rooted in history, strengthened by geographical proximities, trade links, and cultural affinities. And in Sadaaqa, we hope to document this relationship through individual experiences. And while doing so, we hope to bridge cultures. Sadaaqa welcomes His Excellency Sibi, Ambassador of India to Kuwait. Well, Ambassador Sibi has spent a greater period of his career in this part of the world, in the Middle East. He has served in Riyadh, Tehran, Doha, and now in Kuwait. I hope I'm not leaving out any of the postings. And he's also served in Islamabad and Washington, D.C. and Bern. And therefore, these so many years spent in the region puts him in a unique position to share his experiences of living in the Middle East, of the historical ties between India and Kuwait. So he will have a very different take on this region, and we want to find out more about that and more about India's relationship with Kuwait. And since we are in this very special month, and in a couple of days we will be celebrating the National Day and Liberation Day of Kuwait, therefore the ambassador has a special message just after the interview. We are so delighted to have you with us, Excellency. Thank you for giving us the time.
Thank you so much.
India House is such a beautiful place in Kuwait. And I remember being told that this particular building was built like brick by brick, stone by stone. Is that true?
That's right, yes.
Yes. Bricks from Rajasthan, if I'm
That's
not
right.
Stone from Rajasthan.
This is exactly the similar stone which, if you look at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in India, the Red Fort in India, all these, these stones are from the same part of the country, that is Rajasthan, which came here, and it's built. So it's an iconic building in Kuwait, and I have seen that many of my Kuwaiti friends actually come to see the house to see, and some of them have actually imported that stone from India.
Yes, I mean, when you are going past, every time we come to the Indian embassy in Kuwait, it's like, the red structure stands out. And if you ask anybody in Kuwait, where is the embassy of India? I think very few people will not get it right. Am I right?
You are right.
Yes.
You are absolutely right.
I think
it is not only that. I am told that from the sea, this is a landmark building where they actually look for a fishing spot.
Oh, I see.
Yes, in a particular angle from the India House, if you put your boat there, and then in that angle, you get better fish.
Seriously?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So that's a learning today for me. Okay, we'll have to explore that later. So, Excellency, I did mention that you have served in different parts of the Middle East. And I got it right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, so many different parts of this region. What has been your experience? I mean, what would be your strongest takeaway after having worked so many years?
As a diplomat, I chose to be in this region.
Mm-hmm.
In our system, as a young career diplomat, you have the option to choose a region. Mm-hmm. How do you choose it? You select a language.
Mm-hmm.
So I selected Arabic language and this region as my region of specialization.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have been in this region multiple times. As you said, I started my career in Cairo, then moved on to Doha, then I was again in the region in Saudi Arabia, I was there, and now I am in Kuwait. In addition, I also did Tehran and Islamabad. So this is a region which is part of India's extended neighborhood, is a very important region, and I chose to be in this region.
Okay. So, but why did you do so? I mean, why did you choose to be in this region?
See, if you look at the connect between, India as a country, it has very good connect with this region.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps the most ancient ties, if I'm not mistaken.
It is a very long-standing relationship which is there. And it is not just in recent times, it's a civilizational link which you can see. And I see a good connect between the two civilizations, which always fascinated me. And I chose to take this region as my region of specialization, and I really enjoyed it being in this region.
I've spoken to the ambassador on different occasions and his wife on his experiences in, the different parts of the Middle East, and the conversations have always been very interesting. But that is a subject for another day. I do want to ask you this question. You mentioned learning Arabic. And you learned Arabic in the heart of, Arabic education, Arabic studies, which is Cairo. And what was that experience like? And is it difficult to learn Arabic?
See, for someone who has no knowledge about the script, it is difficult to start with. But Arabic, I would say, is a very scientific language.
Okay.
It's a poetic language. Once you start learning it, initially it is difficult, but then it is a language it's a rich language. And of course there is a standard Arabic language which is the written language, but there is the Amaya, we call it,
the classical.
Classical is the written language.
I see.
Whereas the Amaya is the spoken language. What I speak in Cairo as learning their Arabic is not the language which is spoken in Kuwait.
Yes, the Arabic is different.
Yes, it is different.
Yeah.
So it may not always work here, but they immediately connect me with, yes, you studied it in Cairo.
They can make out, right?
Yes, that's right.
I had this, I don't know Arabic at all, and I'm really ashamed to admit that, because I think you have a thing for languages, do you? I mean, I'm not very good with languages, but I do remember this while visiting Egypt, and you just pick up a few words. And I was trying to just, according to my children's, they use the word flexing. I was flexing. So I said, I used a couple of words in Cairo when I visited one of the shops in Khani Khalili, and they said, you're from Kuwait. And, they knew, I suppose, from the dialect that I was coming from Kuwait,
Yes.
So, yes. As I mentioned in my introduction, Excellency, you were very close to Kuwait at one point of time. You were serving in Saudi Arabia.
That's right.
Yes. And you won an award during your stint in Riyadh, which is the S.K. Singh Award. And why did you win the award? Something to do with the community, if I'm not mistaken.
No, this is an award instituted to the young diplomats of India for their excellence in foreign service. So they look at your performance as an officer throughout your career and also during that particular year. I won it in 2013. That was the time when I was in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
And we had this program which we called the Nitakat program. When Saudi Arabia was initiated a program to legalize the people who have been staying there, one reason or the other, illegally for years.
I see.
So I worked with the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and also with the Indian community to fully utilize the opportunity which was made available by the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. You won't believe it. 1.4 million Indians corrected their status.
Seriously?
1.4 million Indians benefited from that. This was the large number. And how did we manage it? We worked with the Indian community. I had around 600 Indian volunteers who worked with the Indian embassy there to help the community to fully utilize the facilities offered by the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. At the end of the day, it was a win-win program. When we started, there were 2.8 million Indians in Saudi Arabia. When the program ended, it has gone up to 2.98 million. So it is not a program where to reduce the number of Indians, but to legalize. And resulted in more and more Indians coming to Saudi Arabia. So it was a win-win program, and we had full support from Government of India, Government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Indian community there, Indian volunteers, like we have 25 Indian schools here. We have 25 Indian schools there. We have converted each of these schools into the stations for the Indian embassy for the people to come over there and make required documents to avail these facilities by the government of the Kingdom of Saudi
So
Arabia.
it must have been a massive effort.
It was a very big exercise.
And so many people living in
Yes,
Saudi Arabia,
That's
so many
right.
Indians.
You know, the difference is also that it's a huge country.
Yeah.
And, you know, by sitting Riyadh alone, I cannot handle the whole thing. So I had to have my own small establishments in other cities, which we manage. That's what I was saying. The schools, we have converted into the schools. The teachers became our volunteers. The parents became our volunteers. So that is one great thing I see in the Indian community everywhere.
People
When
come
there is a
together.
requirement, transcending all their differences. You know, the people come from north, south, east, west. They speak different languages. They eat different food. They wear different dress. But then at the end of the day, they are together to help each other. We have seen it here.
That's right.
Also during the COVID times.
Absolutely.
When I came here, I was confronted with a dilemma whether, I'm told that there are 300 Indian associations which are all banned. I said, why? This is not the time to ban or get into that kind of things. The fact is that this is the time to fight the COVID. Let us fight it together. Forget about other things. So the first thing I take decision that all associations are part of Indian Embassy family. We are all going to work together. We are all going to face the challenges together, and we are going to defeat COVID-19 pandemic. And when I look back 2020 and 2021, I have a lot of satisfaction that decision which I took, I made every Indian part of this welfare program. Every Indian has contributed. Every Indian association has come forward. Some big, some small, some from a rich area, some are professional associations, but each one of them contributed one way or the other to help the Indian community, and they worked with the embassy, they worked with the Kuwaiti authorities. So I again call this as a win-win situation.
Yeah, and now that you've mentioned Kuwait, Excellency, so I'll ask you. I'll ask you about Kuwait's historical ties. How long do we go back? Is it very ancient, the ties with India?
See, with the Arab region, we have very ancient links. If you look at it, you can see in the history that the trade between the region and India has been there for centuries.
Yes, sorry to interrupt you, but I remember attending a lecture on the archaeological finds in Sadaaqa, the island which is off the coast of Kuwait, and that goes back. The settlement goes back to before Alexander's time.
That's right.
During Alexander's time, and there were remains found, archaeological remains which go back to the Indus Valley civilization.
That's
which
right.
Which shows that there must have been trading relations.
Well, definitely there was this trading relationship for centuries now, several centuries. And particularly with the Kuwait, we know that for several generations, this relationship has continued and it has flourished. There were families which used to spend at least 4 to 6 months every year in India.
Right. Yes.
And it continued for several generations. And as you know, Indian rupee was the
currency till 1961, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
That is. And in 1961, when Kuwait became an independent sovereign country, India was one of the first countries to recognize it and establish a diplomatic mission. That is why when Kuwait celebrates its 60th anniversary of establishment, India is celebrating with Kuwait the 60th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relationship. That is not the case with many countries. Some countries are celebrating 53rd anniversary, some are celebrating 50th anniversary, but India, Kuwait, 60. Okay, when they celebrate 60, we celebrate 60. This is the relationship, and this is something unique.
Yes, and since we were talking about trading connections between India and Kuwait, I think later on, much later, I'm talking about like 200, 300 years back, Kuwait traded in dates, spices, and I think Arabian horses and pearls. this was the pearling center,
That's right.
the GCC, the Arabian Gulf. And from India, they brought back essential commodities. And I also read that sometimes they used to come back in boats built by Indian craftsmen in India. So they went in, dhows built by Kuwaitis, and they came back in dhows built by Indians.
That's right.
The connection was so close. And it has been the top 10 trading partner of Kuwait, India, always. And in 2018 and 19, trade was like 8.6 billion US dollars. And so now I want to ask you, has this figure gone up? And have we seen any change, any effect during the pandemic in the trading relations?
Trade and business relationship is a very important element of our bilateral relationship.
Okay.
It has always been, as you said, it started as a trading relationship.
That's right.
And the boats, yes, if you look at Kuwait, you see the wooden boats kept everywhere in the country.
That's right.
Whenever I see an wooden boat, I think about that connection. In sitting in my office just across the sea, that is India. And they used to travel.
Exactly.
So whenever, and if you look at the logo which we have selected for the 60th anniversary, there is a ship on it. Why? Because that is a connecting link between our two countries. It continues to be, as you said, in earlier times, our forefathers traveled on the wooden ship. Now trade is happening on ship. Indian oil is imported from Kuwait. It goes on the ship, and trade happens between the two countries. Yes, we have continued and maintained that trading link between the two countries even during the COVID-19 pandemic. Supply chains were disrupted all over the world.
Right.
But in our case, we maintained that supply chain. And for example, Kuwait, in Kuwait's food security, India plays a very important role. Similarly, India's energy security, Kuwait plays an important role. That continued uninterrupted during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. I remember the telephonic conversation between our leadership, the Prime Minister of Kuwait had spoken to my Prime Minister about the food supply chain in the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and it continued. So
that was undisturbed.
It remained undisturbed. Okay. Actually, the trade continued. Of course, the volume of import of oil has come down due to business activities affected due to COVID. But now we are back.
You're back.
Yeah. It is growing back. Of course, food material import to Kuwait continued uninterrupted. In fact, the quantity of import has gone up during the COVID times because many of the Kuwaiti families did not travel.
The consumption is more.
Because they didn't travel. Otherwise, in the months of summer months, they used to travel.
Yes.
But this time they were here. And also, people have also purchased more and kept
to stock.
So the commodity import has actually gone up.
Okay. Are we still exporting essential food commodities to Kuwait, or has India's trade also expanded?
We have a diverse basket now. But main element continues to be food material.
Okay.
One reason is that Kuwait is like Indian food. So for example, rice, the largest supplier of rice to Kuwait is India because they like the Indian rice. Okay. But then there is a huge Indian community which also consumes Indian products.
Right. Yeah.
So there is that huge demand for Indian food material which is here and which continues to be.
I see. There has been in recent years a stress on made in India. In the last 2 or 3 years particularly. And so do you see that Kuwait benefiting from this?
See, what have we done in India during these pandemic times and even before that? We are in the process of developing a new India. A new India which is based on Atmanirbhar Bharat. That is a self-reliant India. Self-reliant India is not just focusing only on, it is not local. It is actually global. What I mean is that we are looking for partners in that Atmanirbhar Bharat program, that is self-reliant India. And Kuwait is an important partner. If you go further, I would say that there are 3 T's which we are working on. That is trade, technology, and tourism. So in all these 3, Kuwait is an important partner for us.
It's a collaboration is important.
Yes, it is very important. Kuwait is a natural partner for India in its economic progress. And they have always been playing that important role because this is an extended neighborhood. Second, you have seen reports of new investment from Kuwait Investment Authority in India. Kia has recently acquired 1% of the Suzuki in India. So this is an ongoing process. India is progressing. India is in a country of billion opportunities, and Kuwait being a country, a business oriented country which sees opportunities, and it is seeing opportunities in India, and they are investing. So this is continuing, and it's a mutually beneficial trade relationship which will continue to grow.
I call it like a symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely, I agree.
Both benefit.
Exactly.
Both benefit.
Exactly.
Yes. So you are very close to the Indian community here. You've gone out, you have made outreach programs, and I wanted to ask you that in your last 2 years here, what is your perception of the role of this community in the development of Kuwait as we see it today? I mean, there have been Indians who have been living here for 50, 60 years. They've come here, some before the discovery of oil as well. So how do you see the Indian contribution as a community to the growth of this country?
See, we have almost 1 million Indians in Kuwait, which is the largest expatriate community in Kuwait. And they played a very important role in the economic progress of Kuwait. In fact, the Indian community, which different levels of people, there are businessmen, as you said, who are here for 60, 70 years. There are engineers, there are doctors, healthcare sectors, nurses, and then at the domestic workers level, skilled and semi-skilled workers, you name it, they're all there. They have become a part and parcel, an integral part of Kuwait's economic fabric. So they are contributing, and they have contributed. They will continue to contribute in the progress of Kuwait. And I'm very happy that Kuwaitis appreciate that. They understand that. That's why if you go across and talk to any Kuwaiti, they have so much of love and affection towards India and Indians. The preferred expatriate worker for any Kuwaiti is an Indian.
Okay.
We have seen it. I have heard it from the highest levels of Kuwaiti government, and also I heard it from the business community. You talk to any Kuwaiti, this is what you hear.
And that accounts for the large number of Indians who live in this country. And I must also mention, Excellency, that during the pandemic, the Indian doctors and nurses played a huge role on the front line here in Kuwait, and they played a stellar role. And I think Kuwait was able to get things under control in a short period of time. It didn't take them very long, though the hit was really hard in the beginning. But I think it is all the nurses and the medical professionals who came together and fought side by side with their Kuwaiti colleagues, and they fought the battle. Right?
You are absolutely right. See, healthcare cooperation between India and Kuwait is a very important element of our relationship. This is not something new. It has been, and it is continuing to grow. When it came to COVID, yes, again, you could see the importance of that healthcare cooperation. The Indian doctors, Indian nurses, and Indian medical professionals, the lab technicians and others, each one of them have contributed in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Similarly, between our two governments, there was tremendous cooperation. You have seen how the emergency medical team from India came to Kuwait in early 2020.
Yeah, within a month of the pandemic hitting Kuwait,
Within a month of the pandemic, they came. And then Indian vaccines, made in India vaccines, Covishield came to Kuwait, 200,000 doses in the beginning. These are very important developments. And when India required oxygen, Kuwait has been one of the biggest suppliers of medical oxygen to India.
Yes, very fast.
That's right. I really thank the government of the state of Kuwait and also the Indian community who worked very closely with us to make Kuwait the largest supplier of medical oxygen to India. The amount of the flow was such that we sent 6 naval vessels to come here. So we built that air-sea bridge. The oxygen will go by ship to India, and the empty containers will come here. Come by
again,
air.
The geographical proximity helped, right?
It helped. Yeah. It really helped, and it worked. I have seen that even during the holy month of Ramadan, people were working very hard to make this happen, and it happened.
That's right. And one of the common things that I think India and Kuwait have is a very strong, youthful demographic sector, in the sense that we have young Indians and young Kuwaitis, very strong and skilled and qualified. So, how do you see the young Kuwaitis here contributing to the growth of, Kuwait into a knowledge economy? Are you very hopeful?
Oh, I'm very much hopeful about that. See, each generation have contributed in building this relationship. Now the turn has come for the second or third generation of both Kuwaitis and Indians. You see that there are second and third generation
Yes, we
of
do.
Indians here
Yes, yes.
who are very actively
Very
involved. I
active.
have seen the people who the youngsters when they really feel at home in Kuwait and they want to build this relationship also, and it is happening and it will continue to happen.
Yeah. And talking about cooperation and collaboration, I came across this very interesting. Uh, Interesting institution set up by a Kuwaiti, the former Minister of Oil and Information, Sheikh Abdullah Al Sabah. In 2010, he inaugurated the Sabah Cultural Library at India Arab Cultural Center in one of India's most prestigious universities, the Jamia Millia Islamia. That was a milestone, in the history of Indo-Kuwait relationship. And now I hear that they are the libraries in Kuwait, and Kuwait University and the National Library of Kuwait is electronically linked to Jamia Millia. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm told that it is. Yes, it
Yes.
is. It is. See, what you can see is that there are so many of these kind of connecting link between the two countries. Many of our institutions are cooperating, our libraries are cooperating, our museums are cooperating, and there is a connect between the two. So, in our relationship, there are so many stakeholders: the business, the
Cultural.
the cultural link, museums, libraries, scientific institutions. So there universities, you name it, there are a lot of connecting link between the two countries, which has contributed in building this long-standing dynamic partnership. I am sure that in coming days and coming months, this will further continue because there is the youth is now showing more interest in developing this relationship between this region and our country.
We are speaking to Ambassador Sibi George, Ambassador of India to Kuwait, on Sadaaqa, and we've spoken about different aspects of bilateral relations between India and Kuwait. And I wanted to mention here, Excellency, that recently, and this is something I wanted to ask you, since 26 Jan, when I saw the Republic Day parade and I saw this young Indian woman who played a significant role in the Republic Day parade as the first Indian woman to become a fighter pilot, if I'm not mistaken. And she has become an icon as such for young Indian girls and for Indian women in general. And wanted to ask you how the role of Indian women in armed forces in particular, because we are hearing a lot of things in this part of the world about women joining the armed forces, and there have been many opinions on this subject. How has India gone about it?
See, I'm very proud to say that in India, the women played a very important role in our freedom struggle, in our progress as a largest, fastest growing economy today. You take any field of activity in India, women played a very important role in its success. If you look at our heroes who contributed to India's freedom struggle, the first and foremost name comes up is Rani
Lakshmi Bai.
Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi. That comes up. Or if you look at the history of INA,
Exactly.
yes, again Captain Lakshmi comes in. So this is something which continues even today. You name, you look at any field, whether it is politics, whether it is business, whether it is our civil service, our armed forces, women are playing a very important role, and it is one of the success stories of India if you look at it.
Yeah, but the armed forces is something which Indian women's people who are fighting for women's right in India were aiming for, and now women are going to play an active role in warfare. They're just not going to be in support roles as doctors and engineers, but they're going to go to the front.
That's right. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and that's a huge leap for women in
Oh,
our country.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes,
And
yeah.
in coming days and months, you will see that more important role being played by women in every field, including in our armed forces.
Yes, that's right. So then, since you've been here since your time here in Kuwait, it's been 2 years.
That's right. Year and
Yes,
a half now.
a year
Yes.
to
Yes.
2 years. How time flies,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, what has your experience been like in Kuwait? I mean, how easy or difficult has it been for you personally to reach out to locals?
See, Kuwait is a very friendly country, particularly for Indians. One feels at home here. Every household you visited of your Kuwaiti friends, you were received with so much of warmth. You could feel that civilizational connect in the way you are received and you are welcomed. And that is true of Kuwaitis in India too. That connect you can see. So I feel very comfortable, very happy, and feel at home in Kuwait.
We've seen, have you must have obviously noticed that since you're mentioning Civilizational Connect, that's something which I felt when I first came here is the similarities, the way, for example, whether it is their music or dance, whether it is simple things which they used to use in the past, which is they used to use boxes to keep their belongings. And all of that came from India.
That's
The
right.
boxes were made in India, or they
That's
were
right.
made by wood, which came from India.
Yes.
The roofing of their house was done with wood, which came from India
That's right.
and from the east of Africa. But and also their food, I think there are Indian terms which they use, masalas and everything that they use in their cookings.
That's right.
So it's like it's an intermingling of culture that in such a way that sometimes it becomes difficult to even understand, is this Kuwaiti or is this Indian?
No, you are right. This cultural linkages between our two countries has been there for several centuries now, and which continues to progress. Both have grown, both have evolved, but there is that connect which continues to grow. If you go to a Kuwaiti home, you really feel very much connected with your own country. When they serve, when you have a meal with them, you feel it. You see that connect. I'm sure that similar is the case with a Kuwaiti when he visits India, when he come across biryanis of different varieties. I'm sure that he would be able to.
He is reminded of home.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think Sheikha Suad in our first episode, she mentioned the family connection in the sense that we as Indians are very family oriented. To us, the family is important. And I suppose in Kuwait, the basic of social structure is also the family.
Absolutely,
So, that is something so similar that we share with this part of the world. And what about your family? Now coming to your family, we were seated when we were talking earlier, we were talking inside the drawing room of India House, and the painting in the background was by your wife, Joy Sibi. So your family is with you here in Kuwait.
That's right. Yeah, my wife and my son stays here with me. My two daughters are not with me. Of course, they spend some time with me because of the COVID. But once this COVID situation improved, they both moved out to their, where
Different
they are
universities.
That's right. That's right.
So how well has your family adjusted?
See, they have always been part of my diplomatic life.
Yeah.
So they definitely adjust to it, irrespective of the place where we are in. They always become part of it. I'm very happy that my wife has been contributing immensely in helping me build that connect with the whichever place I am, whether it was in Switzerland as my first ambassador assignment, or now in Kuwait where I am here now at this stage. I have seen that it is not just the ambassador engaging the local people. It is also the ambassador's family engaging the local families.
Yeah.
So I could see that connect we are able to build, and which is working very well. Same is the case at even at the children level. Some of the best friends my son has are Kuwaiti children. So they share their experiences and their likes and dislikes, which is how the relationship evolves.
Yeah, the bond grows.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say as an Indian? What do you think would be the best thing about staying in this part of the world, especially in Kuwait?
I would say you feel at home.
Okay. Yeah, I felt that same thing when I came
Yes.
here. I didn't want to leave India, frankly speaking. It was never in my kind of
You
plan.
don't have a cultural shock.
You don't get a cultural shock. You feel
Yes.
it's an extension of home, as you
That's
said.
right. It is an extended neighborhood.
Yes.
Whether you take any field, you
Yeah.
see how that connect. So that is, I think, the most important thing. And that is one of the reasons why I initially chose this region as my region of specialization.
It's closer to home.
It is closer home. It is, you feel connected.
Yes.
And I have no regrets. I'm very happy to have taken that decision.
Okay. And you have also mentioned in many of your outreach programs how important it is for the local community here, Indians here, to build connects with the locals, with the Kuwaitis. How important is it? But as community, as an Indian community, and this is not here, I find it in different parts of the world, Indians usually like to stay within themselves. They are a peace-loving lot, and but at the same time, they are very thickly connected, closely connected. How important is it for expats to break that cocoon, and to go out and form connections with the host country?
No, what I have noticed in Kuwait is that many of our Indian community members have that connect.
Okay.
They have their Kuwaiti friends whom they interact very closely. They may not come close in a public platform, but definitely they have a lot of friends who are their best friends. If you look at it, I have seen that many of the Indian weddings
Yes.
in India, when an Indian who has stayed here for 30 years goes for his or organizes their children wedding, a large number of guests are from Kuwait.
That's right.
And Kuwaitis constitute that guests. I have seen that Kuwaitis have taken off from their normal routine and taken 2 weeks off and gone to India to attend
the
weddings.
weddings. That's right.
And Indian weddings are long. So this is happening, and this shows the connectivity between the communities.
That's right. You did rightfully mention that we are one of the first countries to recognize Kuwait's sovereignty.
That's right, yes.
After they became independent in 1961. And since then, we've had quite a few, some high-profile visits. We had Vice President Zakir Hussain, who visited Kuwait in 1965, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1981. And we have Hamid Ansari, the Vice President, in 2009. And we've had, likewise, we've had very, very important people from Kuwait visiting India at since 1961, at different points of time. And can we expect a VVIP guest during your time here in Kuwait?
See, this is a relationship where our political leadership give us a roadmap. They always remained connected. As I mentioned, there were telephonic conversation. There are regular exchange of letters between the two leaders, which is happening, which is on a regular basis. And at the same time, high-level visits are happening. You have seen that in 2021, despite the challenges of COVID-19 pandemic, we had 2 high-level visits. Yes. The foreign minister of Kuwait was in New Delhi. Similarly, the external affairs minister of India was in Kuwait. And when I organized the regional ambassadors conference, ambassadors from all our GCC countries came here, and we had the regional ambassadors conference. So for the first time in the history of Kuwait. So we have maintained that high-level visits and engagement, and I am sure that this being the 60th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relationship, we will continue to maintain that high-level engagement including
including
likely high-level visits.
Okay, so looking forward to that.
Thank you.
And so we've come to the end of our show.
Thank you.
But as told Sheikh Aswad in our last episode, as Indians, we express our gratitude with sweets. And so I've got a Middle Eastern sweet for you, which is very popular here in Kuwait. It's called kunafa. It is not a Kuwaiti sweet, but it is very, very much popular with the Kuwaiti public here. And so we are going to give that to you after you answer these 4 questions of ours in the section called Ahlen Kuwait.
Okay.
And Ahlen Kuwait, for our non-Arabic listeners, since will you tell them?
Welcome
Kuwait.
Yes, yes.
So Ahlen Kuwait, and so we want to ask you, Ambassador, something Kuwaiti that you like to eat.
Okay. Majboos.
Majboos.
Yes.
I like that as well. So yes, majboos it is. It is the biryani of Kuwait, made in a very, very different way. But it's nice.
I have noticed that whenever I am offered majboos, my Kuwaiti friends were kind enough to keep a little bit of spices aside.
Green chilies, right?
Green chilies, yeah, to make it more interesting for me.
Yes. So your what would be your favorite memory of Kuwait when you leave from here? I mean, or it's still in the process of making it.
Yes. No, I mean, see, it has been a fascinating place. I would say that the relationship comes, we say dil se, from the heart. So that is a close relationship which we have. So I will definitely have that sweet memories of my meeting hundreds of my Kuwaiti friends. I will go back much richer when it comes to friendship.
Okay.
I have a lifelong friendship with many of my Kuwaiti friends.
Okay. And if you were to take a gift from Kuwait, what would it be?
That memory.
Okay.
And I'm sure that my entire family would carry that memory.
I'm sure.
So, which is very important. We were, despite the challenges of COVID, we were happy that we could meet a lot of Kuwaiti friends.
Okay.
All levels, and we have been to many of their residences, and each one was a memorable visit.
Yes, you took over at a very, very tough time. We are still going through a very tough time.
That's right.
So I can quite understand how difficult it has been. I remember one of the ambassadors telling me that one of the basis of diplomacy is face-to-face relationship. People to people, physical connect. So which becomes very difficult during this time. So
you have to evolve. You have to find ways and means. See, in this COVID scenario, you can avoid all meetings.
Right.
And these are difficult times, but we made it a point. It took a bit of risk, but we engaged each other beautifully. I think that has helped us build our relationship. That has helped our community build a relationship, and it has benefited all. And that is how we plan to proceed further.
Okay. And a place in Kuwait you would like to visit?
I like Kuwait Towers.
Okay.
I go there very regularly, and it's beautiful scene sitting there in the revolving restaurant and look at outside. You could see this beautiful country.
Yes.
And you could, as I said, from there just cross.
The view is really nice.
The view is very, very nice. And from there you just cross the Arabian Sea. You are in India.
You can almost see home from there, right? And it is a beautiful place actually, and the view is very nice. Okay, so we shall end the show by asking you that you are such a busy person. I know that you work 24/7, and I have to say this. I mean, I've sent him messages at almost at midnight. And received responses then. So he's almost like a 24/7 doctor, right? You can reach out to him at all times, basically, day or night. So I want to ask you that apart from the time that you put into work, how do you spend your pastime? What is your favorite pastime in Kuwait?
See, Kuwait offers a lot of things one can do. I spend my time whenever possible I go to the sea on a boat.
Oh, that's a nice experience.
That is a great experience.
Yes.
To see the city from the other side.
That's right.
Or in the night, it is beautiful. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Kuwait Towers I mentioned.
That's right.
To see the Kuwait Towers, and particularly I remember last year we had on 2 occasions the Indian national tricolor on Kuwait Towers. On both days I went out to sea to take a look at that from that angle, and it is a great memory I'm going to carry with me. Similarly, I spent some time traveling to the other side, go to the farmhouses. It's again a beautiful experience. So Kuwait has a lot to offer. The sea, the islands, the desert, the farmhouses. So, it's quite an interesting place to be in.
Yes. Thank you, Ambassador Sibi George, for spending time with us here on Sadaaqa. It was an honor having you on the show.
Thank you very much, and I should really appreciate and congratulate you for this initiative. This is contributing immensely in building our relationship, our age-old traditional civilizational linkages. Your contributions personally is very much appreciated, and we are thankful to you for that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. On this occasion of the National Day of Kuwait, it gives me great pleasure to convey my heartiest greetings to the leadership of the state of Kuwait, to the government of the state of Kuwait, and our friendly people of Kuwait. This is an important occasion in the history of Kuwait, and it also coincides with the 60th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between our 2 countries, which is a very important occasion. I am sure that in coming months and years, our relationship will continue to flourish and transform itself into a long-standing, dynamic partnership and a strategic partnership. I once again wish our Kuwaiti friends all the best and all the greetings for their National Day. Thank you.